I bought these 3 books on Amazon and flipped them right back onto Amazon FBA for a $190 profit. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I did that using the Keepa deals page. But before we get started, make sure you stay tuned until the end of the video because we hit 100 subscribers. And as a thank you to you all, I'm going to be giving away this $100 book. All right, the first book we're going to look at is called Medical Device Development. I paid $88.88, flipped it on Amazon for $190. I paid Amazon 36 bucks and profited $64. It took about 2 months to sell. And the sourcing method was the Keepa deals page. All right, here's the Amazon listing. You can see I did purchase this on my regular Amazon account on July 2nd. And if we look at the Keepa data here, you can see that on July 2nd, the price of this book was $88.88. That's what I bought it for. And the reason why I bought this book was looking at the past historical data, this book was selling for about $195, both third-party new and Amazon new. So if you're new to Keepa, this blue line represents what the new third-party sellers are selling the book for. The yellow line represents what Amazon's selling the book for, and the sales rank indicates when the book sold. So you can see all these large dips here. You can actually count the number of sales. Like that's a sale here. So this would be a sale. That would also be a sale. If we were to look in this area, like that's a sale, that's a sale. So you can actually count the sales rank drops, and that would tell you when the book sold. So if you simply just overlap the sales rank with whatever the used or new price is at the time, you can kind of guess what the book sold for. So on July 2nd, when I came across this book, again, using the deals page, which I'm going to show you how to use in a second, there's a lot of data showing that this book was probably selling for that $195 new. And all of a sudden, when I came across it, you could buy it used for $88.88. So let me go ahead and head over to the deals page here. All right, you can copy all of the criteria that I use on the Keepa deals page to do your own online arbitrage. But essentially, I look for used book. I look for a drop percentage range that's 30% or higher. So I'm looking for a book to actually drop in value by at least 30%. I'm looking for that dollar amount to be at least $25. And I'm looking for the price of the book to be at least $33. I'm looking for a sales rank between 1 and 2 million. And I'm looking for the book to actually be its lowest price ever. Those are the criteria that I've been using. And by the way, I change them all the time. Like that's just what I was using last. But feel free to use the same criteria or even change it a little bit, because even like, let's say changing the drop percentage from 30% to 28% could lead to you having a lot more result. But once you go ahead and click books here, you should be able to see a whole bunch of books that meet this criteria. And one of the books that met this criteria on July 2nd was this book here. Now, as far as why would I buy this book, it's pretty simple. Basically, the book was selling for considerably more than what I could buy it for. And because there's historical data to suggest it was selling for a lot more than what I could buy it for today, it seemed like a good deal. And so I actually showed this to a lot of people in my last video, and I think they liked it because it kind of showed, the way that I think about if you should buy a book. But basically, this is sort of the 4 things that I think in my head when I come across a book. And it's not like this takes very long. This is like a 10-second mental check. But I basically want to see, is there historical sales that are 2 to 3x the current price? And so if we go to this, if the current price is $88, 2x that price would be about like a little over $170. So yeah, I mean, if the book is selling new for $195, like it meets that criteria. Is the used offer count not too high? So if I go back here, you can actually see that the black line down on the bottom part of the graph here, the used offer count is actually really low. Like at most it was 2, and it's generally around 1 when they're in stock. But you actually don't even see a solid black line throughout the past year, which means most of the time this isn't even offered used. Like there's no one selling the book used. So yeah, that was also true that the used offer count wasn't too high. Is it close to the lowest price ever? And in this case, like factually, that was the lowest used price ever. And another way that you could check that is if you go down here to statistic, you can see that under the used, you can see that the lowest used price was $88.88. So yeah, this does check that as being the lowest price ever. And then the final check is, would selling it at its historical price be profitable? And if you just use, FBA calculator, you can basically see that, yeah, if I sell this book for maybe 170, 180, like I'm definitely going to make money. Now, I might not make 100% ROI, which I didn't here, but I was able to make $64, and that's definitely a book that I felt comfortable buying. Okay, here's the actual proof that it did sell. I'm over on my Amazon account. You can see that it sold on September 1st. This is Medical Device Development. It sold for $190. Now, real quick, before we go back to the other 2 books that I want to show you, again, these are the criteria that I use for the deals page. And I just want to show you how simple it is to find books that could be profitable and that you might consider buying. So using this criteria that I'm asking you to use right now, on the 4th book down, I saw something very interesting. And this is a book called Mastering the ISDA. And recently you can see that there's been a repricing war where the used price went from $115 and over the last, let's say like 20 days, the price has gone all the way down to what looks like $36.84. But the reason why this looks interesting to me is that I see the sales rank dropping a lot when the new price and also the used price is actually pretty high. And then all of a sudden, in the recent past, we see this large percentage drop in price. And that makes us think, is the book undervalued? Like, can I buy this book and flip it for what it's historically sold for? So what you can do from this page is actually just open up a link in Amazon to kind of look at what the used offers look like. And so right now you can see that you can buy this new. There's one copy available for $127. And then there are two used copies for $38.48 and $36 plus $4 shipping. And then right after that goes right up to new. So the question is, could you buy this book and sell it to make a profit? Well, again, what I would do is go through the checklist, which is, again, this is sort of the analyzing I do in my head really quickly, which is, are there historical sales at 2 to 3x the current price? And if the current price right now you can buy is for $38.48, and there's historical data to suggest that the sales rank has dropped when the new price is like $120, $130, then yeah, that would be definitely more than 2 times the price. That's, that would mean that there are historical sales that are at least twice the current price, like what you could buy the book at. Is the used offer count not too high? Again, if we looked at the used offer count down below here, the black line, you can see that it is creeping up, but it really isn't, a massive change, right? You're going from a used offer count of around 2 to up to 5. That's really not that big of a change. If it was something more like the used offer count was around 2 when this was selling for 130 and all of a sudden it's at like 15 or 20, then that might give you some cause or, some pause because there's a lot more people selling it. But here there's not like a massive spike in the number of used sellers. The next thing to check would be, is this close to the lowest price ever? Like, are you actually buying a good deal, or has this book actually been lower in the past? And in this case, again, if we just look at historical data for the last like plus years, I don't see a time when the black used line was lower than it is today. And again, another way you could check is just hover over statistics, and you can see that, yeah, September 18th, like this is the lowest price this book has ever been. And one of the questions people ask is like, what exactly is this repricing war? Why does the price of this book go down in this little staircase fashion? And the answer to it is pretty simple. You have two sellers that are trying to get the next sale, and they have a repricer that's automating the lowering the price of the book to try to either, get the buy box or be the lowest price so that someone buys the copy. So that's why we see the price of this book going down and down, is because there's literally two sellers who are, have their repricer set to maybe match or to go like 1 penny lower than the lowest used offer. And I would bet that that's probably going to continue to happen until, one of the repricers hits their minimum price. And so something that you could do is like, let's say $38 is not enough margin for you. What you could do is track the product, and you can say, well, if this repricing war gets down to like $25, then I would be more comfortable buying that, and you can start tracking it. Now, I wouldn't track the new price because you're not trying to flip the book new. You're just trying to buy used, so I would erase that. But you can start tracking it. And by the way, this is a book that I would consider buying, not only because it's, the current price is 2 to 3 times lower, but the fact that right now the new seller on the listing is a third-party seller, and it's going to take 3 to 4 days for this book to ship. And we're looking at September 28th being the time when we can get this, when today's date's the 18th. It's like this book is going to take at least 10 days to get to someone. So if you're the only prime offer, you could probably even charge significantly more money than $127 and also get a buy box because you have 1 or 2 day shipping if you're an Amazon Prime seller. So I wouldn't necessarily consider this $129 new price to be the price ceiling. I would actually argue that you could probably easily sell this for like $140, $150, maybe even more than that, just due to the fact that you're going to be the only Amazon Prime seller. And if someone needs it really quick, then they're going to have to pay you for it. All right, right below that book is this book called the Encyclopedia of Exercise. And this book also caught my interest. You can see that the current price today is about $44.23. But if you hover over the used price and the sales rank, you can see that one, this book sells a lot because the sales rank is dropping a lot. But that also those sales are happening at significantly higher prices than what you could buy the book for today. So you can see that just even in August, this book was selling for over $100. In May, June, July, this was selling for like $170, $190. If we go back to December and January, this was like selling for over $280, and it was selling a lot. And so if the price of this book is $44, and again, let's go ahead and look at this on Amazon, right? The buy box is $44 used. If we take a look at the sellers, I'm assuming this is probably like another repricing war here. So we have actually Amazon Warehouse selling 2 copies at $44.23. And then you have another Amazon seller who just launched selling 3 copies for $64. And then after there, it goes up to $92 and up to $286 and $399. So there's definitely a couple of people here who are really trying to sell their copies. It's driving the price of the book down well below what historical sales data suggests it should sell for. And so this would be another example where if you go through the criteria, which is like, is there historical sales at 2 to 3x the current price? Definitely. Like this book is, you could buy it for $44.23. And in August, it was selling for $144. So that's definitely over 2x times the price. You can say, is the used offer count not too high? Well, if we go back and look at the used offer count here, you can actually see that the used offer count today is no different than it was in August. It actually was about the same or slightly higher than it was in November and December when this book was selling for over $285. And by the way, I think this is actually a 2-volume set. It's not actually a single book. But if we then go and look at, is this close to the lowest price ever? Like, yeah, if we take a look at the used price over time, to me, it doesn't look like there's been a time where the used price has been any lower. And again, another way we can check that is we can just hover over the bottom where it says statistic, and you can see that, I guess actually on September 14th, that was when the lowest price was $44.23. So factually, you couldn't really buy this book for any lower than you could today. And this historical showed that it sold for 2 to 3x the current price. So the final check is, would selling it at its historical price be profitable? Yeah, like selling this at 120, 140, 190, 280, like all those would be profitable. So this is another 2-volume set that I would definitely consider buying. And honestly, I'd probably buy these 2 copies. And I might consider buying maybe one of these. One thing when it comes to like online arbitrage and buying books, just remember that there's millions of books out there that you can arbitrage. And the last thing you want to do is put all your eggs in one basket. So maybe just buying these 2 copies would be a good idea. One thing you want to check for though here is that this is a 2-volume set. So you want to make sure that when you actually buy the book and you receive it, that it is in fact 2 volumes. Otherwise you can't sell it. You'd probably want to return it. So I'm not going to buy these books, but I definitely would buy those. Okay, and just quickly, the last book right beneath that one is called Patient Safety and Quality Improvement in Healthcare. And so this is really interesting because we have historical data to suggest that this book is selling, right? The sales rank is dropping. And also the used price and the new price for both third party and Amazon is pretty high when this book was selling. So we have a number of sales around, looks like 150, we got 160, we got 180 back here. And then all of a sudden, Amazon and the third-party new sellers actually are in this repricing war where Amazon just keeps going lower and lower and lower. And it looks like Amazon's probably at their floor right now at $42. So this could potentially be a book that you could buy as well. I mean, let's go and open up the listing here on Amazon. You can see that Amazon is selling this new, has 4 copies in stock for $42. They have it looks like a like new copy of 41, and it goes all the way up to 130. So, we don't know what the plan is for this book for Amazon. We don't know if they have 1,000 copies come, and we don't know if these are the last 4 copies they have, but you have historical data to suggest that it's sold for significantly over what its price is right now. You are kind of gambling in this case because you don't know how much stock Amazon's going to have in the future, but this is something that you could keep an eye on, and again, you could set a tracker for it. Like maybe you don't feel comfortable buying 1 copy for 42, but you might track this product in the new price. You might even track it for like 25, and you might say, hey, if the new price ever gets to $25 or the used price ever gets to $25, like send me a notification and maybe I'll reevaluate and maybe it's worth buying. Like maybe it is or maybe it isn't. But again, the point is that using the deals page could be pretty profitable as long as you're sort of following these criteria and you diversify which books you're investing in, or at least the books that you're buying. Like don't buy 10 copies of one book, maybe buy 10 different books and buy maybe 1 copy of each. All right, the second book that we flipped on Amazon was called Business Law. I bought it for $28, sold it for $125, paid Amazon $27.93, which is basically the amount I actually paid for the book, profited $69, and it took just barely over 2 months to sell. And again, the sourcing method here was the Keepa deals page. So you can see that I factually did buy this on June 28th. I actually bought 3 copies of this book, and if we look at June 28th, basically this would be the point in time where I saw or found this book, Keepa Deals page. And based upon the past history, again, looking at the used price and looking at the sales rank and overlapping the two, this book was selling for about $115 to $130. Now, in the past, there actually was data that showed the price had been low before. And so that is something that did give me a little bit of pause, the fact that it has been lower before. But I did see enough data here to suggest that I think if I were to buy a couple of those copies at 24, $24, that it would be a good deal. So let's go ahead and just go through that criteria to say why I bought the book. So again, here are the criteria, which is, are they historical sales at 2 to 3x the current price? So the current price was about $28 after shipping. This book was selling for about $115. Yeah, 2 times $28, you get $56. So yeah, this was selling for about 4x the price that you could buy it at. Was the used offer count not too high? So if we look back at the used offer count back at that point in time, you can see that it was maybe a little bit higher. It was about 6. Back here when the book was selling, the used offer count was about 3, or 1 to 3. But really the difference between 1 to 6 is not a huge difference. This is more for like, was this selling when there was very few offer counts, like maybe 1, 2, or 3, and then now all of a sudden there's like 20 copies? Like that would be a big enough where that should give you pause. So for me, yeah, the used offer count wasn't too high. And you can see that as soon as I bought these copies, the used offer count went all the way down, because I was the person who bought, a few copies from different sellers. Is this closest to the lowest price ever? Yeah, this is closest to the lowest price ever. Like I mentioned, there was a little bit of data back here that showed for about a 4-month period, you could have bought this for a little bit cheaper, but it was close to the lowest used price, but it wasn't actually the lowest used price. But the point of saying that is that you just don't want to be buying a book that, let's say the book was 24 at that point in time, but there's a, past history to show that you could have bought for $5. Like you don't want to be buying the book for significantly more than what you could have bought it in the past. So that's why I asked that, like, is it, close to the lowest price it's ever been? Is it a good deal, basically? In the final check, would selling it at its historical price be profitable? Yeah, if you sell this book for 115, 130, it's definitely going to be profitable. You're going to make well over 100%, return on investment. And so if we go back to the book here, you can see I spent $28 and I made a profit of $69. And I also have 2 more copies that I'm looking to sell as well. All right, here's actual proof that it did sell. Here on August 29th, it sold for $125. And again, if we look at the breakdown of the fees, sold for $125. Amazon collected sales tax for me, so I don't have to worry about it. And I paid $7.38 for Amazon to put in a box, ship it to the customer. I paid $18.75 for the referral fee, $1.80 for the closing fee, and Amazon gave me a check back for $97. And if you deduct all those, if you deduct what I paid for the book, then that's how you get at this $69 profit. All right, the final book that we're going to look at is called Core Elements of Philosophy. Again, I found this using the Keepa Deals page. I paid $48.94, sold it for $135. I paid $27 in fees and made a profit of $58. And this one took a little bit over 2 months to sell. And let's go ahead and look at the Amazon listing here. So you see I did purchase on June 30th. And if we look at June 30th, that would have been this point in time right here. And again, I found it using the deals page because, all of a sudden the price dropped from around $90 all the way down here to about $45. And again, the reason why I bought that is I went through the same criteria here to help me determine whether or not I should buy it. This one kind of violated the sort of criteria that I set for myself, but you can probably still see why I bought it. So again, are there historical sales for 2 to 3x the current price? Well, at this point in time, the book was, $45 plus shipping. There was historical data to show that it was selling for about 80 here. Sold there a couple times for about 110, a couple times there for about 100, a little over 100. And if you go back into history, Amazon new and third-party new is selling for about 96. So if I'm buying it at 48 and there's historical data to show that it's selling for about 100, like that would be barely 2x the price. But one of the reasons why I did buy the book was I just felt that the data in terms of the number of sales and also used price being very consistently high, that I felt like this was an undervalued book that I maybe wouldn't make a ton of profit on it, but that I can definitely make a little bit of profit on it. Now, is the used offer count too high? No. Like if we look at the used offer count here, at the time of purchase, it was really not any different than when there was other data to suggest that it was selling for, over $100. Is it closest to the lowest price ever? Again, one thing we can do is just hover over the statistics here. And actually, no, this was apparently $13.62 on January 15, 2020. So I actually want to look. It would have been this point in time here. So it looks like there are a couple drops back there. And this sales drop right here is actually someone buying the book. So someone got a great deal there. And again, that's just another reason why that you should track products, because I'm not even tracking this book and I bought it. So, I might say, hey, if this is over $25 or lower, start tracking it. And by the way, that's actually like significantly lower than what I bought it for. But you never know, like things like that do happen. And if you get a notification that you have a price drop and you analyze the data, like you could easily swoop in, buy the book and resell it. So the final check would be, would selling it at its historical price be profitable? So here, because this book was selling for like 100 plus, like 95, 100 plus, you wouldn't really be super profitable if you were to sell it at that, but you would definitely be profitable. You'd make some money. Now, what's interesting to note is I actually sold mine for $135, which is significantly above the new price of $116. And so that's just another reminder that even though there are people selling the book new on Amazon and they're third-party merchants, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't sell a used book for more than the new book, because remember, a lot of people are interested in how long it takes them to get the book. Like they need speed to be quick, and a lot of times they'll be interested in paying more money to get the book quicker. There's also a little bit of trickery in it with the buy box, because sometimes Amazon really does try to prioritize speed. And so they might actually give you a used buy box that's higher than what you could buy for new. And so that's sort of like a little trick that Amazon plays on the customers. But the point is, I sell used books from more than third-party new sellers. You know, it's not uncommon. Like I do it pretty frequently, and that's just another example of that happening. Now, if we take a look at the fee breakdown, you can see that Amazon took $9.45. They collected that for sales tax. So that actually has nothing to do with me. That's just Amazon collecting the sales tax. That's in addition to what the actual price of the book is that the buyer has to pay for the book. You can see that the price for pick and pack was $5.40. The referral fee was $20, and I paid $1.80 in a variable closing fee. Amazon sent me a check of $107.55, and we deduct what I bought from the book, and that's how we get to this price of a $58 profit. So again, sourcing method was Keepa Deals page, and it took about 2 months to sell. And for those of you who made it to the end of the video, it is time for the 100 subscriber giveaway. I'm going to be giving away this book right here. It is The Principles of Economics, and this is like an over $100 book. Here's the actual listing on Amazon. You can see that right now the buy box for a new copy is $170. The lowest used price right now is $154. If we look at the Keepa chart, like historically, this book is selling for well over $100, and there are tons of sales rank drops. So this is definitely a book that is selling very quickly. And right now it looks like Amazon had gone out of stock. And so this book, you know, was even selling for over probably like that $295 and also over like $300. Like here, there's actually a sales rank drop to show that it sold for $500, which is just insane. And yeah, this book definitely has some good value, and I want to give it away to you for being one of the 100 subscribers. And the cool thing about this is that even if you're not an Amazon FBA seller, you can still make $100 by selling this book to a buyback company. So let me show you how to do that. Basically, you first want to go to a website called Bookfinder, and where you see the ISBN, you want to type in the ISBN on the barcode back here. So I can actually just go to the Amazon listing. I can just copy the ISBN and type the ISBN into the Bookfinder there. And you can see that right down below on the right-hand side, there's going to be a best buyback offer. And so if you click on that value, you can see that looks like 2 different buyback companies that are willing to give you $100 for it. And if you just click on one of them, it'll send you to their website. You probably have to sign up for an account, but basically you're just going to be selling your book back to them, which is really easy. Basically, all you would do is just send the book back in this Amazon bubble mailer that I'm going to ship the book to you in. I'm actually going to include some strips of tape for you here so that you can actually just tape the package back up. But yeah, you just walk through some basic steps, put the book in here, tape it back up, and then when this company gives you a shipping label, you just print it out, tape that onto the package, and then you just drop it off at USPS, or you can even go online and have them pick it up from your house. Or if you're at a home, like you could literally just put it in your mailbox and put the red flag up. But if you want to be entered into the giveaway, it's really, really simple. All you got to do is be subscribed, like the video, and just leave a comment about a video idea that you would like. But that's all I have for you today. If you want to check out some other videos about how to source some very insane profitable books on Amazon, then check out this video here.